Good morning, Commander Toasty here. Today I'm going to give you a little explanation on how you can save money on your electric bill, lower your electric bill with no gimmicks. No money, you don't have to buy anything, you don't have to subscribe to anything, you don't have to, send me a check or anything like that. All you have to do is pay attention and learn about how your electricity is billed, what they charge you for, and you'll find out that there are some ways that you can change how you're living easily, and save money, lower your bill, quite a bit of money. And I'm not doing the old thing like the utilities always say, hey, you want to lower your bill, just use less power. Not going to do that. That's silly. You want to save money on gasoline, sell your car. We don't do that. So this isn't really complicated. There's no deep science here. Try to make it as easy as I can. First thing you're going to say is, who is this guy? Why does he think he can talk about this? I'm not going to get into my bona fides, but I will tell you, there are very few people on the planet who are more qualified to talk about this than I am. So we'll leave it at that. What you need to understand is this. There are three components to your electric bill. The first one I'm going to mention, even though it's the one that we can't do anything about, and that's public benefits. Bennies, and it's a large part of your bill. Dear Vice President Al Gore, when he was VP, created massive list of taxes and fees on utilities, our cell phones, our electric bills, all utilities. Crazy, big numbers. We didn't used to have those numbers. So public bennies, if you look at your total electric bill, not just the bottom line, but how it's broken down, you'll see it's a big part of the bill. In fact, it's so big that large electric users, commercial properties and like that, they take a tax deduction on all of those taxes. So nothing we can do about it, us humble home users can do about it. The other two components we can do something about, and those are called usage and demand. One, usage, is measured in kilowatt hours, kWh, kilo being 1,000. The other, demand, is measured in kilowatts, 1,000 watts. It's really simple, don't have to complicate it. Take a 100-watt light bulb, simple old incandescent light bulb, the government has also outlawed those. 100-watt light bulb, burn it for 10 hours. That's 1,000 watts that you have consumed of electricity. That's 1,000 kilo, that's 1 kilowatt. 100-watt light bulb in 10 hours is 1 kilowatt. Simple. So that's kilowatt hours, 1 kilowatt hour. Now that same light bulb, 100 watts, is 1/10 watt. When you turn it on, it's 1/10 of a kilowatt. So that's how much power you are demanding, not using, demanding from the utility. So we're going to get into both of those things because there are savings to be had on both of them. Let's start with demand, kilowatts. It's kind of a curious thing. You are charged by how much you are requiring the electric company to be capable of producing. They have to build generators. They have to put in wires, distribution. They have to hire employees. They have to buy fuel, whether it's gas, oil, nuclear, whatever it is. And you notice I said nuclear, not nuclear. They have to do all of those things based on how much power they must produce. So if you turn on your pool pump, your washer, your dryer, your electric furnace, whatever, all at the same time, you expect the power company, whoever you have, you expect them to be able to deliver that much electricity instantaneously. They, in turn, have to make sure that they build enough infrastructure to provide that much electricity. Consequently, they charge you for that. If you only had a flashlight, plugged into the wall, little 10-watt light plugged into the wall, that's all they would charge you for. But now you're demanding thousands of kilowatts, and you're going to have to pay for it. But you don't have to use all those things at one time. Every month you are billed at a rate calculated against the maximum demand kilowatts that you required that month. If you have all these things running at the same time, swimming pool and refrigerator and electric stove and you name it, washer, dryer, electric, all at the same time, your demand is crazy and they're going to bill you accordingly. Let's say it's 30 cents a kilowatt times all the kilowatts that you use that month. If you only use two of those things at one time, let's say your pool pump and your furnace, and you're not running a bunch of other stuff, your rate's going to be more like 25 cents a kilowatt times all the kilowatts you use that month. So here's what you can do to save some money. Be clever and be aware of what you're doing at any given time. Don't run heavy consuming equipment at the same time. Offset. If you're going to do a load of laundry, washer, dryer, don't do it when you're running your pool pump. Don't do it when you're cooking dinner on your electric range. If you're going to run your pool pump, do it in the middle of the night. Nothing else has to be on. I did spend some money, not a lot of money, and I recovered it very quickly. I put a time clock on my pool pump, and I have an electric water heater, 50-gallon electric water heater. I don't need those to be on at the same time. So the pool pump runs about 1 in the morning, and then it's done before I'm using electricity for anything else. Maybe my heat pump comes on at night, but that's just the two things. So by locking those guys out off of each other, you save a lot. Electric car. Electric cars can be programmed on board to charge at certain times. So I had a nice electric Cadillac, and I programmed it to start charging about 3 a.m. and it was done about 6 a.m. and nothing else was running at that time. Everything else was off. But if I had had the electric car plugged in and charging at the same time as the pool, and the same time as the water heater, and the same time as everything else, boy, that would have really jacked up my rates. So you can't do anything about the refrigerator. You need light bulbs on at a certain time of night, but there are a lot of things in your house that you can do something about, and they're big consumers. And it only takes a spike. So let's say a big Vitamix blender. When you first turn it on, it demands a lot of electricity. And you're only using it for 30 seconds. But the demand is there. You're requiring the electric company to be capable of delivering that much power. And if you just forget about it, you've got the electric washer and dryer going, you've got the pool pump going, TV going, everything else is going. And maybe you've got some crock pot going. Oh boy, there's one. And then you turn on that Vitamix, boom, you just spiked your rate for the rest of the month. If you can control what you're using at one time, stage them at different times of the day, you will lower your bill and you will notice it. You can do this a little exercise. Go into your power bill for the past year and look month by month and check out your demand component. It's a big part of your electric bill. Check out your demand component and you'll be surprised. And then start thinking about how you can save. Have to have this. Always have to have this. I'm a decaf junkie. Now, the other part of your bill, we talked about demand, and that's kilowatts, the amount of power combined that you're requiring the electric company to deliver to you. Now we're going to talk about usage. How much power are you actually consuming? And that's measured in kilowatt hours. Remember the light bulb thing? Well, let's see. An electric car, if you have stage 2 charging, which allows it to pull a lot of power at one time, you plug in your electric car, it pulls the same amount of power as 300 houses. That's right. Boy, it's a lot. So you want to be careful when you're doing that, how long it's going to be running, and etc. Take all of these things that you have, and they're running, and you're going to have hundreds of kilowatt hours, thousands of kilowatt hours every month. A lot of juice. a lot of juice. But here's the kicker, and here's how you can save some money. Electricity doesn't cost the same amount of money 24 hours of every day. They have different times a day, and these are on a rate schedule called a TOU, a time of 6. Every utility will have a TOU something, a TOU 6, a TOU whatever, time of use. Easy for you to find once again. And the rates are different depending on when you use power, and the reason for that is if you take your big commercial sector, the high-rise buildings and everything, yeah, they might be miles and miles away from you, but they're from the same power company coming off the same generators. So they need a lot of air conditioning in the afternoon, roughly 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock, maybe 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It depends on where you live. But they need a lot of power. And the utility company doesn't want to have that much fuel burning, that much energy being produced. They don't want to have that much staff. So they do things to reduce the amount of electricity that they have to provide. And one of the ways they do that is they offer you an incentive to not use power at those periods, peak demand periods. For me, peak demand is 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's it, Monday through Friday. Weekends are off, holidays are off. Quite a bit of time is free, not free of cost. So I only have to reduce my consumption for 3 hours a day and get a significant savings on power. Significant savings on power. So what do? Between 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock, I don't run anything. You know, the TV might be on, a couple of lights might be on. If I'm in extreme weather, even if I'm in extreme weather, I don't run my heat pumps. I heat and cool with heat pumps. No choice. So I really don't run much power at all. And it works great. You save a lot of money because the power, typically, the power on peak costs 3 times more than the power off peak. So do your cooking after 7, before 4 o'clock, whenever you want to do that. Maybe you just do cooking earlier. If you're a working person, you're going to come home. You're probably not going to cook dinner before 7 o'clock anyway. But again, I have the time clocks on my pool and my hot water, and they're locked out for those 3 hours. So they can't run for those 3 hours, no matter what. Electric car, same thing. Can't charge for those 3 hours. I have no load, really. Just maybe the TV, maybe the microwave for a few minutes, and that saves a whole lot of power. Now, where I am, we only have on-peak and off-peak. But a lot of municipalities, let's say Pacific Gas and Electric in California, because they have produced so much electricity, they have shoulders. So they have an on-peak, they have an off-peak, and then they have a medium or intermediate peak, which we call shoulder. So again, there are different tiers. The lowest tier, say in PG&E, I think the lowest tier is 14 cents a kilowatt hour. 14 cents a kilowatt hour, and the highest is 36 cents a kilowatt hour, something like that. Look at the difference in that. That's a big, big savings if you can just shift your usage away from that time. Now, you can't just behaviorally make this change and expect to save any money. You have to go on to a time of use rate. You call your utility. You can do it online if you're proficient with the computer. It's easy to do. But just call your utility and say, I want to go on a TOU. And you can go on your computer right now and you can look up their TOU, whoever you're with. If you're with Arizona Public Service or Con Ed or whoever you're with, look up their TOU, just type it in, Con Ed TOU, and it'll come up and you'll see what things look like. See if you can live with something like that. If you do that and watch your demand, you're going to save a lot of money. I live in Arizona. It's 115 degrees, and my electric bill is about $67 a month because I've got a big pool with a big pump. I have an electric water heater. I have a lot of load. But just by using strategies, I save a whole bunch of money. So those things are pretty easy to do. And they're pretty easy to understand. You don't have to spend any money. The time clocks are a good idea because it saves you having to hop around and switch things on and off like that. But they're also very handy. I like having the time clocks. Okay, some do's and don'ts. Do buy LEDs. Get rid of all your incandescents and get rid of all your curly fry light bulbs. Those things are not efficient at all and they give a terrible light. If you have fluorescent lights in the garage, in your laundry room, your shop, whatever, they now make wonderful LED tubes. They go in, they're good for 15,000 hours, something like that. Great light, basically no electricity, you save a fortune. For every 4 tubes you pull out, you're going to use 2 tubes, so you're saving money right there. But those 2 tubes will use, well, what, 20% of what the old tubes would use anyway. So a lot of savings there. Don't buy gimmicks. Don't buy power conditioners. Don't buy things that, you know, you plug it into your outlet and it will make your refrigerator run better, and you put it on your fuse box and forget all that stuff. Hokey stuff. It's gimmicky. The only person that benefits from that is the guy who sold it to you. So scratch that. Solar is a whole nother discussion. I am not a fan of solar, and boy, I was in the industry. And you have solar salesmen don't like to talk to me because I ask the right questions. But I'm not going to get into it now because it's an even longer presentation to get into solar. And finally, one thing to know is that TOUs, time of use schedules, are typically 6 months and 6 months. So there's a summer and a winter, and the hours will change and the benefits will change. Normally winter is much more forgiving because there's just not that much cooling in all of these massive high rises and industrial parks and all that. You can't believe, I used to run a whole bunch of high rises, and you know, $500,000 a month for a high rise for an electric bill, piece of cake, that's low. So in the winter, they just don't need that much cooling. They can bring in outside air, more outside air than normally. Normally they recycle most of their air, but in the winter they can bring in outside air, keep it cool. Heat load in the building is really high, and it's mostly because of lighting and people. So they have to cool. So, but anyway, summer and winter rates. So when you look at the TOU for wherever you live, make sure you understand that you have strategies are a little different for summer and for winter. That's all. So that's it. This is Commander Toasty checking out. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Hope you saved some money. Toodles.